Hi, it's Valerie from A Stitch in Life. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about sewing machines, new versus vintage. Let's go. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Valerie. I am a former costume and fashion designer, and I started this channel to help other people in their sewing endeavors. So I teach you to sew like a mother, meaning we sometimes have limited time, limited brain space to get things done. So I'm teaching you in these little chunks all about different sewing techniques, machines, all of the things. So make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. Stick around. I post videos once a week. So this was a topic over on Clubhouse recently. We talk about all things sewing, all things upcycling. We have different discussions several times a week, but we recently were talking about sewing machines, whether to buy a new one or an old one. There are pluses and minuses to both sides. And you don't necessarily have to be an expert at machines to get either one. So I'll talk about new machines first. The plus of a new machine is that it is right out of the box. You're the first one to sew on it. It's not going to jam up. It's not going to be broken. You're not going to be missing parts or pieces. Sometimes if you buy it from a sewing and vacuum store, they might have free classes, or they might just offer classes. They might also be available for any questions that you might have. It also will have a warranty that comes with the machine if you buy that. If anything does happen, you can get it fixed. So it comes with the booklet with instructions. All of that being said, many people tell me it's very overwhelming. It is. Here's a booklet. I've never sewn before in my life. I'm supposed to read this booklet and figure it out. Many of us are visual people, so we go to YouTube to learn, or we go and take a class to learn and have an instructor there to tell you yes or no, or, show you the different pieces and parts of the machine. All machines are the same, whether they're new or old, except for the very, very old ones, the big black ones. You know what I'm talking about. I'll put a picture here. Those ones are a little bit different. I would not buy one of those. Some people, if you know what you're doing, then you're okay with buying one of those. Go for it. I do have one myself, but they are trickier to sew with. So when I say vintage, I'm talking about machines from the like 60s, late 60s, up into the probably late 70s, early 80s. So some of the negative things about buying a new machine is that nowadays they have so many different stitches and embroidery and feet and blah, 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 that it just seems overwhelming, or it can be. And then there's a whole debate whether to get a computerized machine or a manual machine. That is definitely a personal choice, and there are pluses and minuses to that as well. It can also be more expensive than buying a used machine, right? Anywhere from like 150 or 140 to the sky's the limit. Usually around 500. You can get one at a sewing and vacuum store. But there are some on Amazon, like the Brother machines, that are around the 120 to 150 mark that are good. So they don't necessarily break the bank, but they are more expensive. Also with newer machines, they have plastic parts. Plastic parts on the inside that can break over time. And that is a big difference between the older machines and the newer machines. The older machines are still around, and that tells you something right there, that they still work from when they were purchased back in the 60s. And people who buy new machines now do not buy new machines from Walmart. My mother used to do that, and I don't know, every 6 months to a year she would have to buy a new one. It would just break because they are plastic, they're cheap, they don't last very long. So the pluses and minuses of a vintage machine. Obviously, this is my choice, but I have been sewing for a long time and I know the ins and outs of how to fix minor tweaks about machines. The plus to this is the same thing what I was just talking about, that they are all metal machines usually. If you get like a certain era of machine, the parts on the inside, and I'm not talking about the case on the outside, that can be plastic, that doesn't matter. On the inside, the parts that actually make the machine work need to be all metal, and they usually are from a certain, era, and they last forever. They work really well. They are strong. They are workhorses. They're going to sew through those jeans and denim, all those layers. Another plus is that you can still buy accessories that would fit the machine, like bobbins, a bobbin case, feet, things like that. Needles still work with those machines. Really, you could get anything that you needed that you were missing. There are some exceptions, like those machines that have cams, and you might not know what that is. But if you lift up the top little lid, there are these little canisters that go into the machine that do the different stitches. I would not buy one of those machines. It's a little bit more complicated, and you would have to make sure you have all the little cams, the little pieces and stuff. Basic sewing machine is what you're looking for. Another plus and minus it could be is that if you buy a used machine just as it is, odds are the booklet's not there. But odds are the booklet's online, where you can go and find, if you just search and type in a certain machine, a vintage machine, it will have the little serial number. It'll say, like, the ones that I like to buy are the Sears Kenmore machines. So you type that in and then you put in booklet. And odds are somebody had that and they've uploaded it online. Another plus is that the machines are going to be less expensive. Whether you buy it on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, at the thrift store, I see them all the time at the thrift store, and they're around like $30. The most I've seen is $50. That's a good price. Anywhere from $30 to $50 for a workhorse machine. Oh my goodness, yes. Obviously, the minus is that, like I said, you could not have all the pieces and not know it. And though odds are you're going to be able to buy them now new, there's not that much of a difference. In some machines, the bobbins can be bigger, the bobbin cases can be different, and all of that. But odds are, if you go to a sewing and vacuum store kind of place, or a place that does repairs on machines, they're either going to have one used or they're going to have one new that still works with the machine. So it's not that big of a deal. Also, if you're unsure about the machine, you can always take it in and have it oiled and checked over, and that will give you an overview of, what kind of condition it's in. But for the most part, people donate machines or sell machines because they don't know how to sew, or their grandmother knew how to sew. Now they have a machine and they're like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. Let's just donate it. It's not because it's broken, usually. There's very rare times when I find a broken machine. And if you go to a thrift store that you trust and you like and they're going to be checking out the equipment and the machinery and all of that before they sell it to you. Or you can also take it, go to the thrift store prepared, bring a swatch of fabric and some thread and scissors, and bring that machine over to where you can plug it in. They have it where you can try it out. I wouldn't necessarily get a machine in a table. That's a whole nother thing as well. There are some things that can go wrong with those machines. Not to say that they're bad, but I like the more portable ones better. There's more odds that they're going to work okay. So then you go and you plug it in, and you can wind the bobbin or even bring bobbins with you, because sometimes that's the thing. It has the case, but maybe it doesn't have a bobbin with it. Like those pieces were like in a sewing kit that didn't get donated, or, got lost between, the thrift store and you. I just put a little kit together, bring it with me. If I find a machine I like, I try it out. So obviously a negative there. It could be broken. It could be jammed up. But if you have the opportunity to try it out, then if you buy it on Craigslist Usually they'll say, I've never used it, this was my grandma's, or I checked it out and it still works. You know, it is a gamble, but odds are those machines still work. I have found some, and it is more rare. It's not that it never happens, but I have found some that are jammed. And that just means it's completely frozen inside the mechanics and they don't work. They haven't been oiled, they haven't been used, it was poorly taken care of. Sometimes just oiling them can make them run better, obviously. That's always a thing. And I've been told for years that every 8 hours of sewing that you've done, you should oil your machine. And who does that? Raise your hand. I actually got lucky one time and I found some vintage machines on Craigslist, and they were, you know, I kept finding like the same, like similar listings, and they were around the same price. And then when I looked, the phone number was all the same. And he told me he's retired, but his family used to own one of those sewing and vacuum places, and they used to fix machines. And so he had all that expertise, and he would buy them from the thrift store really cheap, fix them up, oil them up, put, you know, the missing parts back, and then resell them on Craigslist. And I'm talking reselling like $40, $20, some of them. Some of them were free for him, and he just fixed them up. Totally doable. And it worked really well for me because at that point I was looking into teaching sewing lessons. So I needed, you know, a team of machines. So I bought probably 5 or 6 machines from this person, and he, you know, told me the ins and outs of some of this. Like, there are machines that he has found that are completely frozen and they're jammed and they won't move. And what they used to do in the shop was dip the whole machine in a vat of oil. And sometimes that would work and just soak it in there, which sounds kind of crazy. And then sometimes it didn't. I trusted that this person knew, and he had them all set up on this table, you know, in the kitchen, like these tables, and plugged in. And so I could check out each one and see how it's, and they were beautiful. They worked. They were great. I was so happy with the ones that I purchased. So you never know where you can find, if you're an adventurer, a little bit of a, you know, digger, you can definitely find like deals like that or people like that, especially if you just talk to people. Because so many people are like, well, I did buy this machine and then I just put it in my closet and I'm not going to use it. So do you want it? You know, this is how much I paid. Do you want to pay this? I mean, you don't know. I've had that experience as well. It's up to you what you're comfortable with. But on my channel, I will show you at another episode how to thread your machine, and then little tiny tweaks that you might come across when, you know, it's not sewing right. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.